My name is Philip E. Beals, and my highest rank of service was Commissaryman, third class, submarine qualified. Another story was, you asked about a menu. Oddly enough, all the exotic meals, pasta, of course we have pasta too, and rice. Oh shit, that's another story. You know, crossing the Atlantic from up in the Baltic Sea back to New London on a half a tank of gas, so to speak. It was probably less than that. A lot of it, I think we made it in up the Thames River on fumes, ran out of gas, had no food to start with when we made the crossing, and we had to slow down. We had to slow our speed down for crossing to conserve fuel. Wound up with nothing but a bin of rice and some pork loins. We wound up trading a destroyer who for some godly reason was looking for a hamburger. And we had cases of that. And even as bad off as we weren't going to serve that stuff. And so we traded them for pork loins. And we learned how to cook rice and pork 10 different ways, because we had it for breakfast, we had it for lunch, we had it for, and the reason behind that is because there was a crisis, a Suez crisis, I think was going on at that time, so. And we didn't replenish supplies as planned. And so we wound up with we got sent out on patrol, not fully supplied with fuel and food. And we spent everything we had, and then we had to cross the Atlantic on empty. But that's another story. The one I want to tell you, you were mentioning the food. One of the foods we did serve, which sounds odd, but beef liver. Again, I love it. I like it just as much as I like filet mignons, but if it's cooked right. And one time, but none of the crew like that. So I always know if I wanted to, like you say, when I had to watch, I had to cook the whole day. So I started off at 6 o'clock in the morning, wound up at 9 o'clock at night. Usually the nighttime meal was a good meal, but sometimes it was plunked in and they had liver instead. If it was a good meal, everybody was out of their bunks and standing watch or not standing watch, they all attended, so you had 2-3 servings, on that 24 per setting. But the guys would ask me, they might ask me around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they would ask me, hey, Cookie, what are you having for supper tonight? Because they were debating whether I'm going to get up for supper or whether I'm going to sleep through it, if it was something I didn't like. So I'd be there. The liver kept frozen, a whole beef liver was about this size, and we had to cut it up. And so anytime they would ask me like that, I had the butcher's knife there like that, and I just whack off a piece of it like that, raw liver, and I pop it in my mouth, and I bite down on it, and I let the blood run down my chin, and I say, liver, like that. They give me one of these. Well, I think I'll skip the evening meal, and they go. And I'd wind up with I'd have the evening meal instead of being three or 3+ settings, it would be 1+ settings, you know. I get done early, you know, and so that was another thing I used to do, little tricks of the trade, you know, and stuff like that. But especially, and what helped out too was if most of the time, you know, you think of submarines traveling underwater, most of the time we traveled on top of the water. We very rarely only during ops would we travel underwater. And so if the seas were rough, of course, we got all the rocking and everything too, which made altered decisions on whether to eat that night or not, you know. And it's, USS Bank there was my home for the next 3.5 years until my enlistment was up in October of 1959. And time to ship over. I enjoyed my life, submarine life, but my wife said to me, no way. She says, it's time to come home, put your toys away, and start raising your family. I agreed with her, and I'm glad I did.